An old man found something strange while working. He saw a demon-like mark on the wooden box. He was scared, so he suddenly loosened the rope in his hand. The wooden box fell down at once. He was about to hit the captain's grandson. Fortunately, the man next to him pushed him away in time. This made the boy luckily pick up a life. The captain, who was in a bad mood, immediately ordered to catch the old man. Unexpectedly, the old man was terrified and said, "The mark on the box belongs to the demon. Once the ship has sailed, everyone will be buried in the sea." However, no one believed the old man's nonsense. Instead, he drove him directly off the ship, but no one noticed, because the impact just now has caused the box to loosen. Looking at the ship moving away, the old man could only silently make a prayer gesture. However, everyone on the ship didn't take the old man's words seriously. Until the sun set completely. Deep in the creepy cargo hold, there was a sudden movement in the box with the demon mark, as if something was about to break out. Even the mice in the cargo hold seemed to have sensed the smell of death. They were scared and ran around. At this time, a crew member on deck was holding a telescope. He checked the sailing situation between the sea and the night. Unexpectedly, in the next second, a strange face suddenly appeared in the telescope. But when he looked again, he didn't find anything. The man just wanted to check the sailing situation between the sea and the night. Unexpectedly, in the next second, a strange face suddenly appeared in the telescope. But when he looked again, he didn't find anything. Then he hurried to tell his companions about this. There seems to be something strange. He followed them on this cargo ship, but his companion, Xiaohei, thought he was dazzled. So he didn't report this to the captain, who knew that Xiaohei was about to return to the cabin to rest. A crew member suddenly called him. The crew member told Xiaohei, "This ship is a little weird tonight. There's not even a mouse on the ship. It's like everything disappeared overnight. It's like something scared them away." Unexpectedly, he was just talking. The crew member on the deck heard a scream. At first, he thought someone was pranking him. When he followed the sound to check, he found a big hole on the deck of the cargo ship. Then, he hurried to check the surroundings. In the next second, a humanoid monster suddenly crawled out of the darkness. The man hurried to pull out the dagger he was carrying. Just when he was about to go up to see what was going on, the monster suddenly slipped out of the man's neck. Then he sucked out all the blood from his body. Xiaohei, who heard the sound, hurried out to check, but he found that the crew member on the deck had gone missing, and there was a big hole in the deck next to it. He saw a bloody dagger falling on the ground. He noticed something was wrong and hurried back to the shipwreck. The real nightmare began from this moment. Early the next morning, the crew members searched for a whole night, but they couldn't find the crew member on the deck last night. So, for safety, the captain decided to increase the number of people on the deck at night, who knew that it was raining heavily at night. At that time, 2 crew members on the deck suddenly heard something. When one of the crew members went to check, a pale figure suddenly fell from the sky. It just killed the crew member instantly. It was a terrifying scene. The other crew member, who was scared, turned around and ran away, but it was too late. Due to the lack of crew members, the ship quickly tilted in the wind. When everyone rushed to the deck to stabilize the ship, they still couldn't find the 2 crew members on the deck. When they searched in private, Xiaohei suddenly noticed that there was blood dripping on the boy's body. He looked up slowly at the place where the blood was dripping. He found that one of the crew members was in a coma on the deck. Then everyone hurried to put him down, but he seemed to see something terrible. He kept struggling. Everyone could only tie him up temporarily. Xiaohei looked at the wound on the crew member's body and suddenly realized that something was on the ship. So before the dark night came, everyone immediately took up their weapons and began to search the entire ship on the deck. But until the sun was about to disappear at the end of the seashore, they still didn't find anything. At this time, the tied-up crew member suddenly began to struggle madly. At the same time, his body also changed. The little boy who heard the sound rushed to open the door. He happened to see the crew member in the corridor. At first, he thought that the crew member's injury had recovered, but soon he found something. A terrifying scene in front of him. The little boy under the stone dared to run into the room, but he didn't wait for the little boy to catch his breath. He suddenly found a strange figure squatting in the corner. The little boy found something terrible when he was sleeping. He only saw a strange figure squatting in the corner of the room. But when he looked up carefully, the strange figure disappeared again. A strange scene in front of him. The little boy under the stone was about to go around the place to open the door and let the crew members outside save him. But the crew members outside still couldn't get the key to the lock. The next second, the crew members outside suddenly calmed down. He only saw a strange figure suddenly appear in the room. A terrifying scene in front of him. The crew members under the stone were busy running around the door, but it was too late. The little boy, who didn't notice anything wrong, slowly raised his head. He found that the strange figure had appeared at the top of his head. Then a flash caught the little boy and bit him. Then the little boy's blood began to flow madly. When the crew members broke open the door and rushed in, the little boy had fallen to the ground and had no movement. The captain saw it and hurried to look up. He only saw a deep bite on the little boy's neck, and he was no longer breathing. So the next day, everyone decided to bury the little boy. But the captain always thought that the grandson was still breathing. When he tore open the white cloth, the boy suddenly opened his eyes. Then he grabbed his hands and stood up. The old man just wanted to see the grandson, who was about to be buried. The next second, the corpse suddenly opened his eyes. Then he grabbed the old man's hands. Then he wanted to burn the old man to death. A terrifying scene in front of him. The crew members under the stone pushed the old man away. Then they hurried to push the burning little boy into the sea. And the reason why the little boy became like this was because he lived on this cargo ship for thousands of years. One by one, the companions around him were killed. The rest of the crew members were in a panic because no one knew who the monster was going to attack next. So the little boy proposed to sit and wait. It's better to take the initiative and fight the monster. So a group of people rushed in. Then they rushed to reinforce the warehouse. So the monster could only come to the deck one way. At that time, one of them was responsible for attracting the attention of the monster. The other two stood in a high place to open the box and drag the monster. As soon as the monster was injured, they destroyed the ship and killed the monster. Time soon came to night. There was a thick fog around the ship. It suddenly covered the whole ship. Just when everyone was waiting, the figure of the monster suddenly appeared in the fog. But because the line of sight was blocked, no one dared to act rashly. Unexpectedly, the next second, the monster attacked them from the air. Then he killed one of the crew members in an instant. But the worst thing was that it suddenly started to rain heavily in the sky. Everyone was in a panic. The waves were already swimming into the deck. In order to stabilize the ship, he tied the rope directly to himself. When he realized that something was wrong, he turned around. The monster had appeared behind him. Then he bit it. When Shiofei heard the movement, he saw that the captain was tied to the ship and had lost his life. This also completely infuriated Shiofei. He started to mock the monster on the deck. He is a coward who only knows how to hide. Unexpectedly, this infuriated the monster. The next second, Shiofei flew directly to him. Just when he was about to kill the killer, Xiaomei suddenly came to the back of the monster. It was a shot that successfully attracted the hatred of the monster. Then he ignored Shiofei on the ground. He turned around and flew towards the woman. Then he wrapped the woman in his wings and bit her. Fortunately, Shiofei came in time. He kicked the monster with his neck. However, this also completely infuriated the monster. He suddenly grabbed Shiofei, who was running away. He was about to tear off Shiofei's neck. The woman cut off the fixed rope. Then the next moment, the rope was instantly broken in the storm. Then he accurately pierced the monster's body and fixed it firmly on the ship. The two of them jumped into the sea without hesitation. Then Ganmeng grabbed a piece of broken shield. This was the only way to save Shiofei's life. The ship collided with the waves and collapsed on the beach, but the woman had been infected by the monster. As the sun rose from the seashore, she was soon burned to ashes. A year later, Xiaofei appeared in a tavern in London. With the sound of a blow to the ground, Xiaofei saw the monster again.